An inner tube floated over to the side of the pool, and the little toddler tyke guy climbed into the inner tube, proceeded to the deep end of the pool, and where he was apparently playing around when other kids were jumping in. And then it looks like it appears that he had slipped through the inner tube and no one had noticed. And even though there was parents and adults standing near there and kids playing and people jumping on his head, they were swimming around him, they were floating over him. And it looks like when he first slipped off the inner tube, he couldn't even scream for help because his hands were waving, but his head was already below the water, so he couldn't even yell for help. So while you see his hands splashing in the water, he's trying to scream, but he can't because his face is under the water. Well, at this point, he's already underwater. He had he's just lying on the bottom. There's really no air. The kids are playing around the edge of the pool where he's at. And, there's people swimming over him, jumping over him. There's someone standing right there where he's at right now, like less than 4 foot from him. There's more kids playing, and they're just kind of, no one's really watching. They're jumping in the water and they're looking and they're playing, and there's people swimming 4 foot from him in that corner. It's like one adult, a lot of kids there. And you can make out the shape of his body right now. You can see like 4 foot from the ladder, the deep end, middle part of the pool. Clock's just ticking, and people are still standing right there over him, basically. There's at least 6 to 8 people standing right over him. There's people swimming to the left of him. There's the inner tube he originally fell through. Some other kids on it now, almost floating over the top of him. There's an adult leaving the ladder. He just walked away from him, and there's still kids on the inner tube near where he's on the bottom. There's no one at all in the area now except for looks like 1 or 2 children in that corner of the pool. There's absolutely no one there, one child.
And that's his shape, that little...
That's him. That's his shape to the left there. Approximately 3 feet southwest of the inner tube, that dark spot. Right where that guy just threw him in at, he's probably about 3 foot in front of him. So he almost threw the little kid on top of him. Yeah, that dark circle that you see is actually the boy on the bottom. And they're going to get drinks or whatever. And there's more people climbing up and down the ladder on the inner tube, more kids playing. The little boy is still lying face down on the bottom. There's more kids. There's the same adult throwing more kids into the pool. There's my daughter trying to push him in. And then he's going to push her in, looks like almost right on top of he actually threw her right on top of the boy who's still on the bottom. And then there's a little girl there next to Samantha, who's my daughter. And I think this is when they start to realize that something's wrong, because you can still see his body on the bottom. And then they're looking to make sure, because it was hard to really see the shape because the little kid was so small. And the 3 little kids are trying to figure out what's going on and if it's really what it is. And the kid's still on the bottom. And there's my daughter. She's running over to me now, which I'm off screen. She's saying, "Dad, you need to come to the deep end." There comes the mom on the opposite side of the pool walking like she's just now looking for him. That's me. She jumps in. I'm walking up there. She's yelling, "Save my boy, save my boy." It looks like she can't really even swim or get down there, so I jumped in feet first and I brought him up right there with his head above the water. Brought him over to the side of the pool, which I only had one arm to kind of roll him up onto the top with. But I immediately checked for a pulse. There's none. I started doing CPR, and I'll start doing mouth-to-mouth here shortly. I got him on his back. I can't get a pulse from him. I can't get a breath from him. I have nothing. So then I continue on with the CPR and the mouth-to-mouth. And after about the 3rd, 4th attempt, foam started coming out. That's me doing mouth-to-mouth right now. The foam, you could hear the water gurgling in his lungs, and then the foam started coming out of his nose and his mouth. And then there's the mom walking back around, and then I think she's trying to collect the children together. She was asking me, is he alive? Is he alive? And is there a heartbeat? I'm like, no, there's nothing at this point. So I'm still doing the CPR. I'm still doing the mouth-to-mouth. I'm starting to get foam to come out. And the mom's standing there in the background, and I'm just doing the CPR on his chest right now, and I'm doing going back to the mouth-to-mouth here. There's mouth-to-mouth again taking place. There's a second breath, and then I get the foam, and then I go back to the CPR again. And then I'm doing mouth-to-mouth again. And there's the mom walking away, and she starts yelling at the kids. She's telling the kids to come away or something. And I'm still working on them. Mom comes back once more. There's people all around, but no one knew what to even do or what was going on. People running around. There's grown adults crying. There's kids crying. About this time, he's starting to spit foam up, so he's starting to somewhat come back. And I'm doing the mouth-to-mouth again. Continue the CPR. Just kept telling him, I'm not going to let you go, man. I'm not going to let you go. I just kept doing the CPR. And once he started, I kept doing the mouth-to-mouth until the foam came out, and he started half gasping for air on his own, and I rolled him on his side. I started rubbing his back for him, and then continued doing the CPR and was trying to let it drain out of him. Still on the mouth-to-mouth procedure now. Everyone's kind of standing back just watching. The mom's right there right now. It's basically just she's walking away, leaving me alone with him, and it looks like she's yelling at all the other kids back to the corner. I'm still doing the CPR and still doing the CPR, doing mouth-to-mouth again, doing mouth-to-mouth once again, continuing with the CPR, still working on him. Still doing CPR.
It's going through your head.
More mouth-to-mouth. Actually, I couldn't see anyone around me. It was just a blur. It was just me and him. I remember just basically I couldn't tell you who was standing near me, how long he was there. I just knew that I just wasn't going to give up on him. And shortly here, he's going to start regaining like half breaths. He's able to get like a half a breath in, so he's trying, and his pulse had came back by now. And there's the mom, like she's still mad and screaming at people, and I'm just continuing to work on him. And looks like she's got like 5 or 6 kids with her. I'm still continuing onward with this. So he has his half breath there, so it looks like no, I'm still doing the CPR, so he hasn't regained it yet. There's more mouth-to-mouth going on, so I'm still working on him on that. And the more I was doing, the more the water was coming out of his lungs, and I continued the CPR. And then he starts to catch his half breath here shortly. It's going to be hard to tell, because it'll be about the time I start to slow down is when he starts to catch his breath on his own. I roll him on his side, and I'm rubbing his back for him. And meanwhile, we're still waiting for the paramedics to arrive, and I believe the sheriff's officer just now walks up with the mom, and he's observed me doing the CPR and the mouth-to-mouth and lets me continue. He just stands back with the other people, and I'm still waiting for the paramedics, and I'm still continuing the process at this point. At this point, really no one's assisted. Actually, no one assisted the entire process. Everyone stood back, mostly crying. There was screaming. There was just like, and then he's starting to get his half breath now because I'm looking towards the water, which means that he's begun to half breathe on his own after being under for almost 5 minutes. And then I'm making sure that his breath's continuing at the same rate. Because really there was no point in continuing what I was doing at this point if he's starting to breathe on his own. And then shortly here, the paramedics are going to arrive, and they asked me, is he breathing? And I said, yeah, he had just regained half breath at this point, but he had never recovered consciousness. His eyelids were half open, but they were just solid white. It's just the deputy overlooking me now while I'm finishing monitoring him at this point. So the first paramedic arrives now. There's the second one. And then they start to ask me, you know, there's the third one. They're asking me, is he breathing? And I was trying to explain to them that, well, when I brought him up, there was no pulse and no breath, but I got him back to like a half breath. They took one look at his eyes, and then they said, let's take him. And they take him back to the ambulance. And they spent some time in there, and then the last thing I heard from one of them was that, you know, he was going to make it. So they're watching me finish up what I was doing, and then the two of them pick him up and they carry him away. And I'm just standing there holding my neck, like kind of in shock still, not believing what just happened. And there goes the mom, and I walk over to the side, and I come back and just sit down on the edge of the pool for like 5 minutes because I'm just like kind of in shock still, like not believing what actually just happened. More so that, you know, he was actually breathing again. And this was kind of before I even knew he was under. I knew he was under for a long time because when I first saw him, there wasn't even the slightest air bubble coming out of his body when he was laying face down on him. That's me walking over. My neck's like completely broken, sitting down, and my youngest daughter's trying to talk to me, and I'm just kind of staring at the ground like, oh my God. Just cannot believe what just happened. And there's my other daughter with me, and I'm just sitting there by myself, just complete awe.
Wow.
Probably the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life.
That is something, man.
Hey, what's the name of your daughter with the blue swimsuit on?
What's that?
What's